The build to SummerSlam 2024 has been simply fantastic in my opinion. We've had great feuds that have spearheaded this night, like Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, the big one being Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. And with SummerSlam being this weekend, it's time to do our Ple Preview, which we do for every WWE Premium Live event. Keep in mind that the order of the matches will most likely not be in the same order that they will be at SummerSlam. The first match that we're going to be taking a look at is the World Heavyweight Championship match between Damian Priest and Gunther. Now, their feud has been good so far, but that segment that they had where they cut a promo on each other and then they fought for what seemed like the rest of the night on the most previous episode of Monday Night Raw really got me excited for this match because it added something to the feud that wasn't already there, and it was that hatred, and we've seen that done to a perfect T in the CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud. Now, as for who I'm picking, I could see both men walking out as champion. Damian Priest right now is doing some of his best work that he's done on the main roster. He's starting to build a following with the crowd, which is something that is very important. So I could see Damian winning and retaining here, and then ultimately having a rematch at Bash in Berlin, which is the PLE coming up after SummerSlam. On the other side, Gunther, I could see him winning the match because they want Gunther to be champion walking into Bash in Berlin, where he's obviously at home. However, I did ultimately land on Damian Priest winning and retaining. Again, the work that Priest is doing right now is really, really good. And again, he's starting to build up a following amongst the WWE crowd, which has all the signs pointing to a face turn relatively soon. Now, a couple videos ago, I talked about tag team members that I could see possibly going on and having a solo run, and one of the guys that I talked about was Ludwig Kaiser. I think that there is a potential, I'm not going to bet the house on it, but I think that there is a chance that Ludwig could interfere in the match and possibly cost Gunther. Even if he's not trying to cost him, maybe he just goes out, thinks that he's helping, and ultimately ends up costing Gunther. That would set up a marquee matchup for them at Bash in Berlin, which I think a lot of people would enjoy to see. So a lot of factors going into this one, but ultimately I have Damian Priest winning. Up next, we have the Women's Championship match between Bayley and Nia Jax. And I think this match has a lot of eyeballs on it, simply because there is that potential that we see a cash-in with Tiffany Stratton. However, I don't think we're going to get a cash-in from Tiffany because they keep talking about her getting this new briefcase after Bayley destroyed it, and I did notice that it was Nia who said that she would take care of the briefcase for her, possibly get her a new one, fix it up. Maybe this was Nia's plan all along so that she couldn't cash in. Maybe that's me just reaching a little bit for that one, but I think it's something that they could work into a storyline. Ultimately, I do think Bayley wins and retains. I think that WWE could do something pretty good with Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton as a tag team. I think it would be a very interesting dynamic to see unfold. And again, you also have the built-in storyline, if they want to go that route, about Nia possibly taking away the briefcase so Tiffany can't cash in. That would ultimately set them off on what could be a very fun feud to watch, and I think it's soon that we see Tiffany Stratton possibly with a face turn because she is still incredibly over with the WWE crowd right now. But ultimately, once again, I have Bayley winning this match and retaining the Women's Championship at SummerSlam. Up next, we've got the Women's World Championship match between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Now, I talked about it earlier. This rivalry has been simply spectacular. The dynamic between Rhea and Liv and throwing in Dominic Mysterio in all of it is simply brilliant, and they've all done such a good job with the story and with the rivalry. And it was a rivalry that was already going to be good. However, adding Dominic Mysterio into it just elevated it to an extra level that has made it the best or second best behind CM Punk and Drew McIntyre for the best feud going into SummerSlam. Now, the one prediction that I do have for this match is I think Dominic gets involved in some sort of way. and I think we could possibly see him turn on Rhea, and maybe he helps Liv win, but this time he really means to help her win, and him and Liv go off and do their own sort of thing. Because let's be honest, I think Rhea Ripley in this match is the babyface, I guess. They're both kind of in between, but I think Rhea is more over, it seems like, than Liv Morgan is right now. So I think it could be a good time for a face turn from Rhea, and it would give Dom even more heat than he has already, which is a lot. So again, I think Liv Morgan wins and retains. However, whether it's with Dominic's help, that part I'm not too sure about. But I do have Liv Morgan winning and retaining. Up next, we've got the U.S. title match between the hometown guy, Logan Paul, and LA Knight. Again, the feud has been really solid up to this point, and I think the match is going to deliver in a big way. I do have LA Knight winning and beating Logan Paul here, and it's one of those scenarios where I want LA Knight to win. Because while the thought of Logan Paul being the U.S. champion was very, very good at the beginning, seeing what his title reign has been and only defending it twice so far, and yes, he's been good, but he hasn't been here as often enough as you need to be for a champion, in my opinion. And I said that when he won the US title, that he would have to be here on a more regular schedule. And unfortunately, up to this point, he really hasn't been so far. And I think LA Knight needs to win more, because I think we might get to a point where people may not want to see LA Knight win a title, or they may just not care enough as they do right now. He's still incredibly over with the crowd. He's still getting some of the loudest pops on TV. So I think it's the perfect opportunity. I think it's the perfect opponent. I think everything is all lining up here. And if LA Knight does lose and Logan Paul retains, I'm starting to think that we may never see LA Knight with the title if he doesn't win it here. So because of all of that, I have LA Knight winning. Moving right along to the IC title match between Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. Again, another feud that has been pretty good up to this point. I think it's nice that we get a rematch between these two, because I think their match at Money in the Bank could have been better. It was a good match. I just wasn't a fan of how it ended, because it ended in such a abrupt way, and Braun only taking one haluva kick really just didn't make any sense for a guy that WWE is trying to build up as much as possible. And I do think that Braun Breaker will win and win the IC title. It's very obvious that he is going to be the future of WWE. I think it's going to be his time, and I think it's all because of how they've booked Sami Zayn's title run up to this point. Him kind of turning into what people are calling Sammy Hogan is really just not working, and it's really starting to hurt Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn losing the title would ultimately lead to him either going back and chasing another title, or I think he could join the OG Bloodline as they get ready to take on the Bloodline 2.0. We got a little bit of a taste of it back on the latest episode of Monday Night. We got a little bit of a taste on it on a previous episode of Monday Night Raw when he teamed up with Jey Uso for a tag team match. So I think the writing is on the wall, and I think that was WWE foreshadowing the return of Sami Zayn to the Bloodline, and I think it would be a brilliant move to do that, because Sami Zayn was at his best when he joined the Bloodline, and it added another layer onto the Bloodline storylines that at the time was kind of getting a little bit stale in the eyes of WWE fans. So I think Sami could lose the title, go back and join the OG Bloodline as they take on the new Bloodline 2.0, and I think it's going to be Braun Breaker's moment in the spotlight, and I think that he is going to have a fantastic title run as the Intercontinental Champion. Up next, we have the one that I think could steal the show. The biggest feud, the best feud going on right now in WWE, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, with Seth Rollins as a special guest referee. Not much needs to be said about the feud that these two have had, because it has been done perfectly. It's been such a long time since we've had a true blood feud like we have with these two. A feud that is built on pure hatred for one another. throw Seth Rollins into the mix, and you have a recipe for success. Now, after all of that, I think CM Punk gets the win here, because this is going to be CM Punk's first match on a PLE that wasn't the Royal Rumble, and this is his first big match since being back in the WWE, so I think CM Punk winning would not only do him good, but I think it sends a message to any free agents out there that are possibly looking to join WWE, and WWE showing them that, yeah, if you come here, we're going to treat you right. We're going to get you a big win over one of our top guys. So I think WWE could use that to their advantage if they want to go that route. I do think that the end game is going to be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. I think that's going to be the next big feud. And again, I think it's another feud that was built on pure hatred for one another. We know the words that were said back and forth between the two during interviews and all that. I think this is going to be the beginning of that feud, and I think it all starts with CM Punk defeating Drew McIntyre. However it goes, I don't know. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. Finally, we have the undisputed WWE Championship match between Cody Rhodes and the Tribal Chief Solo Sikoa. I'm sorry, it's still just weird calling him the Tribal Chief. One thing's for certain, we're going to get bloodline interference. It's a bloodline match after all, so of course there's going to be interference. But I think what is going to have everybody on the edge of their seats is who is going to be returning. I think it comes down to three guys. Jimmy Uso, who I think could return, Roman Reigns, who I think everybody wants to see, and The Rock. There's been some reports that The Rock's latest movie has wrapped filming and that he could be available for SummerSlam. And again, I talked about it in my previous video about how I think WWE wants to really make their mark with this year's SummerSlam, and I talked about having Roman Reigns coming back is about as big as it gets. The Rock would make it even bigger. So I'm not going to rule out The Rock returning. However, I think out of the three, it is the most unlikely to happen. But I think Roman Reigns does return, and I think it starts setting up the OG Bloodline versus the Bloodline 2.0. Now, after going through all of that, I think Cody Rhodes will win and retain the championship. And I think we see a scenario where he wins and he gets just jumped from the Bloodline 2.0, and we get the similar situation that we've been getting where he's kind of tied up in the ropes, and instead of him being forced to watch somebody that he cares about getting hurt, the Bloodline turns all of their frustration on him, and they just start beating the tar out of him. And then Roman Reigns could return, or Jimmy Uso could return. Maybe Jey Uso comes out. As many directions as the Drew McIntyre CM Punk match had, this has just as many directions that this could end up going. Again, the WWE usually nails the Bloodline storyline, so again, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this one. So what do you think of my predictions? I want to hear from you. What do you think I got right? What do you think I possibly got right? What do you think that I could be totally off on? Again, I think this SummerSlam could be the biggest SummerSlam that we have ever seen. I think WWE wants to make it that way, so I think we could see a lot of surprises, amazing matches, and really just satisfying conclusions to some of the best feuds that we have seen in recent memory. So that is going to do it for this PLE preview. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. It will really mean a lot to me. As always, down below in the description is our Linktree link. There you can find all of our social medias. I highly suggest going and checking out our X page. Over on X, we do updates on every Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and all of the PLEs. And overall, I just want that to be a place for people to go and talk about wrestling. If you're like me and you really don't have anybody to talk to about wrestling, I want that to be a place for you. So if that does apply to you, feel free to go check it out, and maybe it is for you. So again, that's going to do it for this one here. Stay tuned for more videos coming in the future. Enjoy SummerSlam, everybody.